Hi guys, I'm Dr. Duc Vuong. I'm a world famous bariatric surgeon, author of 13 books. I became pretty popular a few months ago when I did this coronavirus video on how coronavirus kills you. It ended up getting 16 million views, but with some of that also came some negativity. I was trying to do coronavirus updates every single day because at that point, back in early March, people weren't taking coronavirus very seriously. We only had a little over 1,000 cases in the US. Well, fast forward now, today is July 23rd. This is my first video in over a couple of months. I felt like the negativity was getting to me. Some of the comments were bothering me, and you know, you don't have to agree with everything I say, but that's all right. I've got the degrees, the medical degrees, the following, the backing, the voice, and that's okay. But you know, you can't be a jerk. And I also felt like I wasn't really adding to the conversation at that point, that a lot of people were aware. We were really in the middle of shutdown. We were just trying to get along. And I started bringing on some celebrity guests and trying to entertain you guys. We did an edutainment thing. And that was fun too. But I didn't appreciate some of the negative comments from my guests. So I just let that drop and I just focused on my challenge. I have a challenge, weight loss challenge, where I do a daily Facebook Live, and I just focused on serving those people. And most of them are the weight loss surgery community. But I'm back again with the coronavirus videos. Why? Well, you can see what's been happening over the last couple of months as we've reopened up the United States. Our numbers have gone crazy and through the roof, and we got to get a hold of things. And I feel like I have a voice that I can hopefully spread some good, some good information through. So I appreciate all the shares and all the hearts and all the loves. And I'm going to try to keep this very clean. I know I'm known for some of my cursing, but I'm going to try not to. And I appreciate any positive comments. And you know, if the hater's gonna hate, we'll just block them as we go, and we'll just move on. Okay. I'm planning on doing pretty regular, if not daily, coronavirus updates, at least until we get the shit under control again. Well, there we go. All right, 2 minutes in the broadcast, I dropped the first curse word. I apologize, but we got to get this back under control. There's a lot of misinformation floating around, and people are still floating stuff from back in March. So first thing, let's get this right. If you're still sharing links and websites and infographics from March, I guess you're just a loser. Not off to a good start, huh? I'm calling people names already. But dude, so much has changed. You know, first of all, it's a novel coronavirus, and most of the people who share this information don't even know what novel means. Okay, novel means new. We don't know much about this coronavirus, and a lot has changed. Scientists are studying, doctors are sharing data. We have Facebook groups, we have chat rooms, and we are spreading information as quickly as possible. So a lot of things have changed since March. So for example, some people want to do all sorts of negative comments about ventilators, but I'm going to tell you, man, like, ventilators was what was the treatment? I mean, that's what we thought was going to be the best treatment. Now we know that the best thing to do is hold off on ventilators as soon as possible. Hold off on ventilators as long as possible. And we give the patients now every chance to kind of breathe on their own with supplemental oxygen. That means the nasal cannula, rebreathers, things like that. And also putting people on their bellies, because that changes the gravity aerodynamics in the lung fields. That seems to be a big difference. And the longer we can keep them off the ventilators, the better. That's one of the changes that we've seen since March, right? So number one, if people are commenting, quoting, sharing articles, especially fucking opinion pieces, opinion pieces from like April, like, they're just losers, man. They just don't know what's really happening in the world. They have an agenda. They might even be a fake Russian bot. So don't get too bent out of shape. We're here to have this really open, real dialogue and communication. And what I'd like to see happen, because my following knows that Dr. V I'm a straight shooter. I give you the real talk. It's a little bit of tough love, but it is love. And I want to do, and that's the weight loss surgery community. Amen. Can I have some amens in the comments section? If you're a weight loss surgery patient and you follow me, you realize that I'm tough love, but it's sincere, it's honest, it's to the best of my knowledge, right? And what I'd like to do is build a similar community. This is my new thinking now. The similar, instead of shock jock like I did before, similar thinking. Like I want to build a supportive COVID community, right? Because the numbers now are not lying. Right? We've got 4 million cases in America alone, right? We are 600,000 deaths worldwide. We are 142,000 deaths in America. And you can sit there and say the numbers are wrong, they're manipulated, they're misreporting, miscounting. At some point, the numbers get so large, you say, okay, Karen, they're fine. The numbers are misreported. How, by what percentage? You ask somebody that and they never know. They're like, I don't know, but it's just misreported. Okay, well, how much? Well, give me a number, 10% misreporting, 20% okay, fine, 20% misreporting. All right, well, 20% misreported means 80% is accurate. So 4 million cases, 3.2 million cases are accurate in America, right? That's kind of, I'm doing the math quickly in my head. You can double check that if you want. So 600,000 deaths worldwide, 80% of that is 480,000 deaths. Like that doesn't make you feel any better, asshole, right? So the misreporting numbers, all the conspiracy shit really starts to go, I just broke my promise, man. It starts to go away when you really get to big numbers, okay? So what I'm asking you guys, there's 640 of y'all watching from all platforms right now, is I'm asking you guys to say, all right, let's do this, guys. Let's rally around, okay? Let's rally around. Let's create a supportive COVID community, coronavirus community, because we are at the numbers now where we all know somebody who's tested positive. We all know somebody who's recovering from it. Maybe they're mild symptoms. We all know somebody, can I have an amen, who struggled with it for 3 weeks, got over it. Maybe they are still tired. And maybe you know someone who's died. I know someone who's died from coronavirus. I know people who've had sons and moms and dads who've died from coronavirus. And so the numbers get so big that we all get affected by it. So at some point as a community, as a whole, we have to say, all right, fuck this shit, right? Let's put apart our differences. It's not politics. The virus doesn't care about your politics. The virus doesn't, can I have an amen? The virus doesn't care if you're liberal or conservative. It's going to fuck you up either way, right? It's going to jack you up. And I'm going to talk about this sort of stuff as we go. And this is my hopes and dreams. If the community stays positive, I'll keep doing positive coronavirus updates. If the community gets negative and nasty, we'll try blocking a few of them. We understand that some of them are not real people. Some of them are bots. Some of them are just going to be eggheads. And then some of them we're going to have to just block. I mean, that's just where we are. So that's my prayers and blessings for everybody, because we got to stay safe, okay? Now, why should I listen to a bariatric surgeon? If you don't know who I am, I'm a bariatric surgeon, internationally famous, I guess. I sell books all over the world. I have following from all over the world. So I guess that makes me international. That's fine. But our number one patients at risk, the number one risk factor for poor outcomes with coronavirus is morbid obesity. And I'm not even talking like, it's obesity. It's not even super morbid obesity, like BMI's over 50. It's not BMI over 40. It is literally a BMI over 30. A BMI over 30 will make you at risk. That's only about 40 pounds overweight. It's not much, right? It's not my 600-pound life, right? It's your uncle. It's your mama. It's your stepmom. And we are going, that's the number one risk factor. It's not age. Now, if you want to go back and look at my old coronavirus videos, I said we would peak in July, in June. We would start burying our dead in July, which is what we're seeing now. We have 142,000 deaths and it's climbing. and it's going to be bad. And that was me thinking that the coronavirus was going away during the summer heat, which it's not doing, which makes it a very odd virus. Wink, wink. So there's a wink to people who want to talk about conspiracy theory and how this is coming from a Chinese lab and stuff. But we can let's just get let's get the supportive community down first before I start dropping stuff about conspiracies on y'all. All right, can we agree to that? Let's just all agree to chill the fuck out, be very supportive and loving, because eventually the numbers are gonna get to the point where it's gonna affect all of us. Yes. All right. So if you look at my early coronavirus videos, I said we would be lucky if we kept the death rate in America under 100,000. You can go back and look at that. I said we would be lucky. I would have done my job. People have listened to me, Dr. Fauci, all the doctors. We will have done our job if we kept the coronavirus death rate down underneath 100,000 in America. And I remember when we passed 100,000, I was like, oh man, this is bad. I knew I needed to get my head back in the game to start doing virus videos again, but I really just couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to the negativity. So I had to take a deep breath. I did, and I had to pull it within myself because I don't like doing these videos. I prefer doing weight loss surgery stuff. I really do. This is not my passion, but it's my duty. It's the Spider-Man syndrome. With great power comes great responsibility. So I developed this following. I have a lot of people in the obesity community that trust me. Some hate me. Don't get me wrong. I'm very aware of the fact that a lot of bariatric patients don't like the way I talk. That's fine. But I do have a platform that I've built over the last 10 years. And with that comes responsibility, especially when we now have a disease that is the hottest topic that is going to affect my following. So if that's you, if you understand, if you agree, that would do, please hit share for me. That would mean a lot. Please show this video. I'll also edit it down and put it on YouTube, and you can watch it there and share it from there too if you prefer. Okay, so let's talk about coronavirus numbers real quick. And I'm going to do these regularly as long as we keep it positive. And what I want to explain is some of the confusing concepts. All right, so this video, the confusing concept is Dr. Vuong, coronavirus numbers are going up. So let me make my hand right. So coronavirus numbers are going up, but the death rate, like the number of death, is going down. Why is that? So it's not as dead. So because that was the case, the naysayers would say something along the lines of, see, it's not that deadly. See, it's overblown. See, it's overhyped. See, I don't need to wear a mask, right? Comment below if you know someone like this that said, hey, the death numbers are going down, so it's not as deadly. It's overblown. It's much more hype. I don't need to wear a mask. Comment if you know someone like that. Well, I want to explain what you saw the last couple of months, why that is, okay? So I don't have my whiteboard I'm behind me, but so the U.S. numbers were skyrocketing back in March, right? And we all shuttled down in April. We flattened the curve. Beginning of May, we were starting to go down, and then some people got ahead of themselves. They opened the states. If by my prediction, I think we opened the states, U.S. states, about 3 weeks too early. And then some states rolled too aggressively. We never got back down to low baseline, and we started going back up again. And then we hit, I think, 77,000 cases in one day. And now we're just we started to roll back. We started to push masks. There was a whole debate. And now we're starting to see a little bit of a cupping at the top, okay? But it's the end of July, guys. I mean, we've had pretty much all summer dealing with this when the summer heat was supposed to kill this virus. It didn't work. Okay, so while the cases were going up like this, the death numbers were going down. We're heading in the opposite direction. So then people were saying, hey, what's going on? Like, it's not that deadly. It's overblown. Well, let me explain to you what happened. It's very simple if you understand. So follow what I'm going to say here. Where did the vast majority of the death numbers come from? back in April and May? Where were the death numbers? You guys know the answer, right? Because we all saw it unfold on television. It was New York City, New Jersey, Connecticut. Those numbers were going up high. They made the vast majority of the numbers, of the death numbers. Okay. The rest of the United States, you had some hotspot, you had some flare-ups, some cases, but you never had enough where you really had high COVID numbers, and only a few deaths. All right. So, but New York City lockdown. They had a strict lockdown policy. They masked up everywhere. They closed down businesses. They did the same thing in Jersey. They did the same thing in Connecticut. And eventually they got their virus controlled. If you look at their coronavirus numbers, they go up and then they go all the way back down to baseline. Okay, they didn't just flatten the curve; they fucking got it back down to baseline. That's what you want. The rest of the United States did not do that. So their death numbers. Remember this key: death numbers always lag in 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, so their death numbers started to go out of the pool of death numbers. The coronavirus numbers in the other states started going up, but there's a 3 to 4 week lag. So they didn't have the death numbers. So that's why you saw the death numbers going down in June and July, was because of the healing in New York and Connecticut and New Jersey, and the death numbers had not started increasing in the South where it's flared up. So now what do you have? Remember, there's a 3 to 4 week lag. So what you're seeing, if you look at the death numbers, it was going up, and then it was dropping down, and then what you're starting to see is starting to pick back up. And this is exactly what I'm telling y'all. So now that the New York and Connecticut and New Jersey numbers are out of the picture, the death numbers are out of the picture, now the uptick that you're seeing is the hot spots in Miami, Houston, Phoenix, and Los Angeles are the major spots, the rest of the country. And you saw this the other day where we hit over 1,000 deaths again. At the peak, when New York City was at its hottest, we hit 2,000 deaths, a little over 2,000 deaths. Will we ever get back up to that? I don't know. We'll get very close. Miami's very hot. So Florida had more cases, 15,000 cases, which was the most at any point in one day, more than New York when it was at its hottest. Florida has broken that record. And Miami-Dade area is really on fire too. It looks like Phoenix is calming down. LA, California has just surpassed New York as having the most number of coronavirus cases. Okay. And, but they've had a much lower death rate. They didn't have that crazy initial surge. So if anything, California has had time to prepare for coronavirus and to learn from the experience of New York City, and to make sure we had PPEs and proper testing and things like that. And if I had to guess, that's what's accounting for the lower death rate that we're seeing now in California and Texas, right? And Phoenix. We've just had preparation time and PPE, etc. Okay, so does that make sense? What you saw in June and July was the intersection of where the death rate from New York and New Jersey fell out, but the death rate had not started in Texas and Florida and California and Arizona. Does that make sense? So it looked artificially low. Now what you're going to see is that death rate, is that number of death is going to start ticking up, which it already has. And this is stuff I've been telling people in my challenge for the last 2 months. So if you're currently in my challenge, watch this, read the comments, and you will see them say, yep, we've been preparing this for 2 months. Doc's been talking about coronavirus, what's happening for the last 2 months, and only my challenge group, because it's a safe place. They just listen. I kind of go off for about 5 minutes, and then I update them to keep them healthy. I'm trying to, in the challenge, we're trying to prepare for coronavirus because it's our health, affected, because we're the population at the most risk. Okay. So what's going to happen, Dr. Vuong? Let's talk about the death. So you're going to see, remember, there's a 3 to 4 week lag. in death. Okay, behavior is about 2 weeks because it takes roughly 2 weeks. That's why they do the 14-day quarantine for the average number of people. You can have that's why we are plateauing now. It's because 2 weeks ago was when we started the whole mask hole thing, cover up. States governors started shutting restaurants back down, closing down bars, etc. Now, granted, it was a month too late. I left Houston at the end of June because I saw the writing on the wall, and I've been hiding out in Albuquerque, which has much fewer cases with my family for the last month. So, and I thought back at the end of June, they should have shut Texas back down, definitely Houston back down the week before I left. So mid-June, they should have shut us down. They didn't. And they're starting to do the mask thing. It's crazy about schools. I'm going to do different topics about schools and things like that. But I just want to talk about the death numbers today. So what does that mean for us moving forward? That means that the death numbers are going to continue to increase for the next 3 weeks because it's a 3 to 4 week lag. That's what's going to happen. Now, will they get as high as 2,000 a day? Maybe, maybe not. The only thing is we know how to treat it better. We have remdesivir. We have dexamethasone, which is a very common steroid we do. And those seem to tell a difference. If you go back to my old coronavirus videos, I told you that hydroxychloroquine did not make any sense to me. I said it. Comment if you remember me saying, man, I don't understand why we're promoting hydroxychloroquine. It doesn't make any sense. And that's kind of come to pass, right? But now we have remdesivir, and it shows about a 30% improvement, decrease in time. But what you're seeing is you're also having prolonged times on the vents, hospitalizations. You've heard about 40-day hospitalizations, et cetera. So it's not something easy. It's not something to cough at. Now, what I would say, however, we might surpass 2,000 deaths only because we've got several hotspots. So it's not just New York City. It's not just 2 or 3 cities, although New Jersey is very congested. It's the most populated, dense area in the country. But we got major problems in Miami. We got Houston, Dallas. We got major big cities. Austin's a big city, over 1 million people. San Antonio, over 1 million people. You know, you're hearing stories of refrigerated trucks for morgue space in San Antonio. Phoenix is over 1 million people. LA is our second largest city. Maybe the death rate might not flare up, but it's, you know, we've got multiple major cities, not just 1 or 2. That's the problem. So if anything, we'll hit 2,000 because of the number of cities spread out, if that makes sense. And I'm a little bit worried about Louisiana flaring up again because we've got New Orleans there. We've got, and we also know that people, I hate to use this term, but people of color, you know, African Americans, Hispanics, have a disproportionately higher death rate and poor outcomes with coronavirus. And that's really the southern belt that we need to be careful about. So that might increase to a higher death toll here, even if you don't have this as high of one single day. It might spread out far enough that your total number of deaths is going to be more. So what we need to do is just really stay calm, really, because the people, it's just basic math, right? They just don't understand the lag time. I hope I made that, you know, just put a 1 in the comment section for me, just so I know. Put a 1 if my explanation about why the death rate was dropping while the coronavirus case numbers were going up, if that made sense to you. And so I know I'm on the right track with you guys. And let me see if you guys, if I explain that clear as mud, or if I don't know, I might need to go buy a whiteboard here. But okay, good. Lots of ones coming in. Thank you, CJ, Maureen, Tabitha, Natasha, Lawan, Jesse. Wow, lots of ones. Good. Mary Ryder, thank you. So Robin, thank you. So lots of ones coming up. So hopefully that's some information that you can take to your friends and loved ones and doubters to explain why they saw that phenomenon. And then you can show them the predictive power of what I've just told you of what we're going to see moving forward. Now, the number of deaths are going to keep going up, right? That's sad. That's not good, but it's a reflection of 3 weeks ago, right? So we can't change that. We just know the number is going to come up. Now, now that we are plateauing again, I think if we can get more aggressive with the states rolling back the reopening, we need to plummet that down as fast as possible, as quickly as possible, before the winter, because as you know, this coronavirus is going to come back when the temperatures go down. We're starting to see that in places like Australia, where they are currently in their winter and they've been locked down and their numbers have gone. And it's nothing near, don't get alarmed, it's nothing near the United States, but they've gone from 100 cases a day to 300 cases a day. And that's something you got to keep an eye on. And they're very aggressive shutting down, right? So I worry about the northern state, like Canada is shut down been very aggressive, but we'll see what happens in the wintertime. I'm very worried about the northern states. I'm worried about New York City flaring back up again when the winter comes, New Jersey flaring back up. So we have to be very mindful of this virus. It is not going away, which I'll take some questions here in a second. I'll come back at a later time and talk about vaccines. I will talk about herd immunity. I'll talk about kids going back to school. Before I leave the topic, I did want to talk about this. Okay, Dr. Vuong, you're a fearmonger. It's not, somebody's going to do something like there's 7 billion people on the planet and only 600,000 people have died. And that's a 0.001%. And we shut down the whole world for this. Like chill out. First of all, chill out. Okay. First of all, that's completely inaccurate use of statistics and math. Anyone who says there's 330 million people in America and only 100,000 people have died, so it's 0.000% death chance and 99.9, that's not how you do the math for viruses, for pandemics. So don't share those memes. Those are completely misuse of the numbers, right? Our current case fatality rate, I did a video 2 months ago on how the case fatality rate was actually 20%. That has since dropped down to 7%. And if you that's because there are still about 1.5 million, 2 million people that are currently going through coronavirus. And so we don't know if they have an outcome yet. So if they all recovered, which they won't, then that's what you do when you take the number of deaths and divide it by the number of cases, and you get the 3.84% death rate that the current administration is promoting, but it's not accurate. Our current case fatality rate is 7%. That's what it is. All right. Now, here's the problem with that. Yes, you recovered. Yes, you recovered, right? So they don't go to the death count, but we know this has lingering effects. Okay, let me give you a few. We are pretty sure there's going to be, if you've been on a ventilator, you survive a ventilator with coronavirus, there's a very good chance you have permanent lung damage. There's a very good chance. And I'm not talking about, listen to me now, I'm not talking about old people. Because some dickheads are going to go, well, they're just old. No, I'm talking about people in their 40s. The average age of coronavirus positivity in the United States right now is 41. I'm fucking 47. I'm 47. And the average coronavirus positivity rate now is 41 years old. Okay. And I said that. Go into my early videos. I said the age of infection is going to drop in the United States. And the reason why it's going to drop is because we have morbidity. We have obesity. We have morbid obesity. And that's going to affect younger people. So what you're seeing now is people who were previously 35, 40 years old, who used to be joggers, runners, athletics, and now can barely catch their breath. Okay. We know that that's going to be an issue. We know that patients are having memory loss. We know you've recovered, but man, you can't remember. And I'm not talking about memory loss from when you were sick. I'm talking about short-term memory. You can't remember why you walked in the room. You can't remember why you went to the grocery store. That's morbidity. That's what that's called. We know that people are heart attacks and strokes and paralysis. And I'll get into the blood clot issue and the Kawasaki's with kids and things like that later. But so there's morbidity. So there's mortality, which means death. And all the dickheads want to just talk about mortality. I'm telling you that there's morbidity. There is, lung damage and memory loss and strokes and recoveries and things like that. And then also, mark my words, there's going to be this new thing no one's talking about yet. But watch this. There's going to be a coronavirus-related, coronavirus-induced chronic fatigue. You're going to start seeing this, and you can say, Dr. V talked about it. Coronavirus-induced chronic fatigue. So if you have chronic fatigue, you know what I'm talking about. You're going to see people who are 6-7 months out from coronavirus and just still do not have any energy. Why is that a problem? Well, you combine it plus, so that's timeout, plus you combine that with your young age. So now you're talking about 35, 40-year-old people in the prime of their working careers. They're the breadwinners, they're the single moms, and their family depends on them. Their jobs, their places of employment depend on them to work, and they can't work. They're chronically fatigued. They're tired. They're going to go back to work. They're going to try. They're going to give it. How do you count that, right? Mask up. It doesn't hurt anything, guys. It looks a little funny, but quite honestly, we're all kind of used to it now. I'm kind of cute. Look, it brings out my eyes. My mask brings out my lack of eyelashes. I have the Asian lack of eyelashes kind of thing going there. And oh, by the way, did you guys ever notice I have reversed eyebrows? I have fat eyebrows on the outside and they get skinny on the inside. It's like a girl's worst nightmare. If I was a girl, I'd have to tweeze the fuck out of my eyebrows. I spend so much money on tweezing and eye wax. I'm so glad I'm not a girl. But so now I'm wearing this face mask and everybody's looking at, and like I could be walking around going, oh my God, everybody's making fun of my reversed eyebrows. Oh, poor Dr. V. But I don't, right? Why not? Because it's much more important that I keep myself safe and keep you guys safe. And I might be an asymptomatic carrier, probably not. But, we do it because there's a greater good. There's a greater good. Sometimes when you're in the middle of a public health crisis, whether it's coronavirus or measles or syphilis, there was a syphilis pandemic, a Spanish flu, like you have to rise above your little discomforts, your little liberties. It's not a conspiracy. We put on a mask. We do what we have to do. We isolate so that we can all get healthy and move beyond this. And that's what this new coronavirus series is really going to be about, right? So if you found this talk helpful, if you appreciate it, I would appreciate it if you would hit share for me right now.